Chapter 24, Patches. It was finally my birthday, July 4th. I sat with Emma at the kitchen table, mixing lemonade and cherry punch, what Frankie called bug juice. He claimed if you left it outside in the sunshine, bugs would come. But I wasn't bothering with Frankie today. As far as I was concerned, he was a bug, the lowest ant on the earth. My friend Laura is going back to Ohio. She doesn't like hanging moss much, I told Emma. I propped my head on one hand and I drew invisible circles on the kitchen table with the other. I don't want to go to that stupid picnic. The pool is closed. Frankie's a liar. Jesselyn would rather be with her stuck-up pep squad friends. And Mr. Smith is mad at Daddy. This is beginning to feel like the worst birthday of my entire life. Emma pulled her chair closer to me. You want Emma to tell you a good thing happening for the 4th of July? A special secret? I stirred the bug juice, not sure I needed another secret. You mean somebody cares about our country's independence after all? We got a big visitor coming to my church. Emma sat up like she was making an important announcement. You mean like Elvis or the Beatles? That big? I scooched my chair closer. Emma laughed. Bigger. She took my hand and laid it next to hers. Mr. Robert F. Kennedy is coming to visit, she said, looking right into my eyes. Who's that? I asked her. The most famous man in our government. He's the baby brother of President Kennedy. God rest his soul. I'm going to pause for a minute and show you a picture of who she's talking about, President Robert F. Kennedy. And this picture was actually taken 1 month before this situation happened in this fictional book we're reading. So August of 64, we're in July of 64 in the book. Robert Kennedy was the head of the legal department for the government at that time that we're reading about. And he was the attorney general. And he believed very strongly in civil rights, that everybody should have equal rights to vote and things like that. And his boss, when he worked in this job, happened to be his older brother, John F. Kennedy. And John F. Kennedy, this is a picture taken the year before that, in 1963, when he was president. And unfortunately, John Kennedy got assassinated or killed by somebody that year in 1963. So when that happened, I think Robert Kennedy got even more involved with civil rights, and he went on to be a senator in the government too. So, going back, Robert F. Kennedy is coming to visit. And she looked right into my eyes. Who's that? The most famous man in our government. He's the baby brother of President Kennedy. God rest his soul. People say that when they feel bad that somebody dies. Emma leaned in. He's preaching about the new law that just passed. Everybody is going to be treated the same. I'll be able to vote just like your daddy and Mr. Smith. No more white and colored drinking fountains. Everybody here can eat where they want to. Things are changing, Glory, and Mr. Kennedy is coming to prove it. Before I could ask Emma one more thing about this famous brother of President Kennedy, we heard a noise that sounded like the ceiling was coming down. Now what's your sister up to? Emma shook her head and started up the stairs. I followed her. Jesselyn was in Mama's old sewing room, cramming shirts and sweaters into a little chest in the corner. What are you doing? I asked her. I'm moving into my new room. She slammed another drawer shut. Daddy said I could. You plan to sleep here? Emma nodded toward this little bed in the corner. This room's too tiny for you and all your belongings. You'd be happier staying put with your sister. just like you have since the day you were born. I need my privacy, Jessalyn pressed her lips together. I'm going to high school soon, she said, like that explained everything. She stuffed one more skirt into her new closet before she prissed off down the stairs. Shoot, let Jessalyn sleep in the sewing room. I'd have more space for my books and my China horse collection and my baseball cards. But then I thought about last summer, the summer before that, and almost every summer that I could remember. How we'd get under the covers to tell ghost stories with our flashlights on. All those nights we stayed up playing junk poker and sharing secrets. I thought about how Jessalyn acted proud when she heard about my letter to the newspaper, how she held my hand when I spoke up to Mr. Smith. It seemed like she'd already forgotten about that night on the front porch. I looked over at the sewing machine, closed up in its black case, pushed off in the corner with Jessalyn's movie magazines stacked up next to it. I touched the edge of my quilt, covering the bed by the window. With Jessalyn's clothes piled on top, I couldn't hardly see the quilt's pattern. I knew the squares by heart, though. Years ago when I was little, and Emma was first piecing the quilt together, I'd listened to her singing in time with the whirling sewing machine. I moved Jessalyn's Pep Squad jacket, sat down on the bed, and touched my quilt. One tiny piece of the baby blanket that I dragged all over the house when I was crawling. One piece from my black cat Halloween costume. One from my green shorts from Lake Whippoorwill Girl Scout Day Camp last summer. One scrap of my very first doll baby's dress. This quilt was filled up with my life. Now it seemed like patches of my life were mixing into a new pattern.